Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get More Clients. I'm Lynn Whitbeck. Business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to ignite winning sales because most are chasing down clients, stuck in a chaotic sales cycle, and lacking client retention, conversions, and profits. The mission of this show is to educate, inspire, and motivate women around the world to build a robust sales strategy to get more clients. Because most can't get more clients and haven't a clue why. You will learn to transform thinking to the client's perspective, end sales chaos with a robust strategic plan, and to harvest the hidden profits. You will also have the opportunity to connect with me further to see how I can support you beyond today. It was a networking event, and we were able to connect during some of the breakout sessions. And through these different conversations, on platforms, podcasts, and stages, well, we made this connection about potential guest opportunities. And as the next few days progressed it was a multiple day networking event, kept encountering each other in the different breakout rooms. So then we had the opportunity to move forward with a guest podcast interview. And through that guest podcast interview, there's time to talk before and time to talk afterward. So the guest and the host have a real opportunity to connect further and really form that conversation. And then as time progressed over the next 2 months, we kept finding each other in the same networking events. It was just one of those things, right? Serendipity. But through that conversation and then having that guest come and participate in a workshop, that then led to a conversation about how I might be able to serve the guest in another way. And through that conversation, there was an introduction to the partner. And then that conversation led to the next phase, which was developing that relationship for a client relationship, and then closing and converting that prospect to a client. But it all started out with that spark of making the connection at a virtual networking event and being in a breakout room together, and then how that relationship progressed. Last week we revealed what is your relational capital and why does it matter? And I sort of touched on that just now with the story. And today we're going to be discussing how to reach consensus and cultivate your client impact. So as you connect and cultivate your budding prospect relationship, you will be planting the seeds for the future. This includes how to introduce referrals into your conversations and to reap subsequent benefits. By the end of today's show, you will know how to transition from awareness to consideration in your prospect relationship. Tap personality coding to adapt and flex your communication style. Plant and feed the ideas of referrals for the future. There's a symbiotic association between the sales process and relationship progression. For sales, you go from awareness, which is that virtual networking, that spark of making the connection, to consideration, to decision, to champion. At any point in the process, it can be disrupted or broken. Building relationships starts with that initial introduction or awareness. I call it the spark. I also talk a lot about demonstrating your worthy intent. And from this foundation, you move on to cultivation, then rapport, and finally, you continue on to nurture the relationship. This last stage to nurture is where your relationship expands to warm referrals and recommendations, i.e., they become a champion. They become one of your promoters, a raving fan, and a referral resource. In the last episode, we revealed how to connect your prospect with worthy connect. I can't even say that. How to connect with your prospect with worthy intent. That sounds better. We also explored how and why to establish and foster your relational capital to move your prospect from awareness to consideration in your relationship progression. Consideration equates to cultivating your budding relationship. And in my story, we really illustrated this, going from that spark of first connecting. And there's lots of opportunities to join in virtual networking events. So much opportunity, and to come with worthy intent, where you're there to truly find out about the other person and other people, to make those connections, to create those sparks, and to demonstrate your worthy intent by coming with that curiosity about the other people in that wonderful opportunity and those breakout rooms. And from there, potentially have that next conversation. And it doesn't have to be about a podcast. It could be about potentially being a promoter for their program, or it could be about doing a joint live. It could be about just connecting further because you really felt a rapport, finding out more about the other person and continuing the conversation. It could be that you exchange LinkedIn profiles and you each make that connection on LinkedIn. Then you have the opportunity to find out more about them. And a great process that I use in those breakouts in those virtual rooms is I really pay attention to that. I'll save the chat if that's allowed, and I make connections with people after the event. Sometimes during it, if it's the time is right, I'll actually be on LinkedIn at live and in person right there, and I'll make those connection requests, but remind them as to why I'm making that request, that we met at this event. I already have my little script ready to go, so it's a quick, easy customization, and reminding them that we've met and I'd love to connect further beyond today. And we're creating that spark. And then from there, you can find out if there's more to what you have together. And it could be that you decide to collaborate. It could be collaborate on a live. It could be exchanging a newsletter swap. It could be that you have a podcast like I do, and you have a guest come on that podcast. And there's so many ways that there are opportunities. It could be someone who is putting together a summit and they're looking for speakers. There's lots and lots of opportunities, and they start with doing that outreach of being there at these virtual networking events and so many other ways. That's a great place to start, because as you begin to cultivate your relationship, you will pivot to establishing those business opportunities. And the key is to drive engagement by staying relevant. So clients are driven by their needs. They want what they want now, and they're not interested in your sales process. With this in the forefront, you can uncover the internal and external forces for your client and the organization. Are there shortcuts or choke points? This is your time to pull up a chair and learn what will impact progress. So as you've cultivated that relationship and you've moved from doing a guest podcast swap and continuing the discussion, and they are now interested in your product or services, you continue that conversation, and now you're really cultivating that relationship. They're a prospect. They've made that transition. And for B2B, this could be a new equipment installation that will disrupt their normal operations. I want you to wait, let me take a step back. I want you to talk about, we were talking about pulling up a chair and learning what will impact progress. So you've developed that cultivation. You're talking with them as a prospect about your product or service. And this is where you dive in with your questions and you can learn about what's going on in their business. Now, my example, now this is going to make sense. For B2B, this could be a new equipment installation that will disrupt their normal operations. So think about that. If you're selling a product or service and they've got something big going on at their organization, They could be doing a big software change. They could be installing equipment. They could be going through a change in their executive team. That could be disruptive at this time to be able to move forward with the sale. All right. So for B2C, an example could be an impending move from one home to another, or some other type of thing that's either happening in their business or their personal life. When you're building this cultivation and you're really driving towards that really tight rapport to move them forward in the sale, it's a discovery process where you wear your detective hat. That's right. You go and get that detective hat and you've put it on, because the questions you ask are going to uncover what they want, need, or lack, what problem they are trying to solve, or area of concern they need addressed, why it matters to them so they can. And if you recall, just a few episodes back, I went through a whole litany of questions that you can use to uncover the goals, aspirations, and hidden objections as you peel back the layers of the prospect's pain points. In the process of this entire sales process, as we're going along this client journey, consideration is relationship cultivation. And there are 5 components to a great relationship: mutual respect, communication, diversity, humility, mindfulness. Worthy intent demonstrates your respect, but it's just as important that your customer respects you. Mutual respect supports trust and acceptance, and relational capital builds mutual respect. 2, we're going to be talking a whole bunch about communication in upcoming episodes, and I've got a whole lot to say about clarity and being concise. But I also want to touch base on something else, because the best leaders, the best salespeople, the best business owners understand that their people skills or their emotional EQ is far more important than their IQ. Personality coding enables you to gain instant empathy with those you connect with. You're able to adapt, flex, and customize your conversation based on your prospect's unique personality style. In addition, understanding the way you think, act, and behave illuminates the impact your conversations with others and how they're perceived. All right, so let's combine 3 and 4, diversity and humility. These equate to accepting differences. An alternative opinion or viewpoint does not make it wrong. Value and appreciate what makes each of you unique. Number 5, since many of our behaviors and responses in relationships are conditioned and habitual, mindfulness practice helps to shift them in positive ways. And that was, I was talking about learning about personality coding. It's going to unlock things in your own mind so that you can move forward and have better, stronger relationships. By wearing your detective hat and asking open-ended questions and actively listening, you're cultivating your relationship. Through this process, you reach consensus. You're able to determine if you have a good fit, if you can truly help, serve, and create an impact for your prospect, and they're a good fit for you. As you build rapport and as you begin this journey with your new client, you want to plant the seeds for a future referral. And I'm going to be very clear. You want to do this early and you want to do it often, because you want to be able to reap the benefits when they're a raving fan and they're a client and they're ready to, and you've earned the right to ask for that referral. And they're more than happy to give it to you. So here's an example early in your relationship. It's so wonderful working with you. So many of my clients are referrals, and I don't usually get this kind of rapport with someone I just met. So, what I've done is that's early in the relationship. I've actually planted the idea that most of my clients come from referrals. All right, that's the seed. And you want to plan, practice, and execute seeding referrals into your sales cadence from the very beginning of your relationship. You want to develop your own style for introducing referrals into your conversations. Then practice these statements so they become natural and they just become part of your DNA of building the relationship and having the conversations. Because here's the kicker. Regular referrals can double your profits and give you a significant competitive edge. Since 98% of companies do not have a written, published, and trained referral program. Okay. That's a huge competitive edge. In other words, you're going to be positioning yourself for the future because referrals allow you to serve more people, to shorten your sales cycle, to increase sales profit, and make more money. And I want you to all capture this because you know what? We're going to dedicate an entire future episode to referrals. But the key today is to recognize its importance in laying the groundwork in your client relationship. And so as we're going along that journey, you may think, why did I deviate and start talking about referrals right now? It's because when you're starting and cultivating that relationship, when you've met someone at at that virtual event, at a live event, my goodness gracious, yes. When you've met them at the networking opportunity, you've been introduced to them. It's a great way to fill this into your conversation. And maybe it's not at that first time of that spark, but at the second time when you further the conversation, that you find out that you have things in common. You found that common ground because you've flexed your style. You've showcased your worthy intent. You've used personality coding to really help build that spark and that genuine connection with the other person. You're curious about them and what they do, right? And so now you've gone to that next stage and you're having that first conversation. Maybe it is about how you can support one another, how you can partner. Everyone has a platform. Everyone has access to being able to create a Facebook Live or a LinkedIn Live or creating a video to put up on YouTube. Everyone has that ability to create something together, to collaborate, to make this beautiful thing. And in doing so, you're actually cultivating your relationship, getting to know them better. And it's not because you're thinking this person could become a prospect, because maybe they will, maybe they won't. But the thing is that you're demonstrating who you are and what you do and what you have to offer. And they may not be interested, but they may know someone else that would be a great connection. And they're also introducing you because of the connection you're making with them to their audience. They're letting you in to their community, right? So there is so much opportunity. It doesn't mean that they have to become a client. You're not hunting them down so they can become a client. Instead, you're cultivating the relationship because this relationship could go in all kinds of different directions. Now, if through those conversations, they start to show genuine interest in what you do and how it could be of service to them, now you're cultivating that relationship and they are shifting to a prospect, and you put on your detective hat. We talked about this before, but I'm going to really, really emphasize this. You need to listen 80% of the time, because those connections, those collaborators, those potential prospects, they will tell you everything you need to know if you listen and you ask questions. All right. And you demonstrate you are genuinely interested and curious about them and their business and what's going on in their world. All right. And so as you do that, and you're asking those terrific questions, you're wearing your detective hat, together, you're going to discover if this is a conversation that then needs to progress. You'll get introduced to another decision-making partner. On a B2B, you may be brought in to do a presentation about your program, your product, your service. And then from there, so let's go down the B2B lane. Is that really picking up traction? And now everyone in the room, remember, you have to sell to everyone in the room. You're going to know who those people are, ask who those people are. You're going to make sure that you've done a little bit of research. You check them on LinkedIn. Who are they? You've looked into those conversations about their role and what's going to be important to them. You're thinking like the client so that you can address everyone in the room. That presentation isn't about you. It's about them. It's about what they need as a business, as an organization, in their roles to support the business. All right. Now let's sort of switch gears, take a turn, B2C, right? I mean, you're working directly with someone. Now they may be in a business to business relationship in the sense that you're a professional business coach, or you coach executives. So here's the thing. You're still working to make that connection with the other person. And there's going to be other people who are influencers and help with that decision. In many cases, they may have a significant other, they could have a family member, they could have a partnership. So those are all important things as you're wearing your detective hat, to understand, and then get those introductions to those other people. When I go back to the story at the beginning, you'll remember that flow of the client journey, which I didn't even know they were going to be a client. At one point, I'm introduced from the chairman to the president of the company. And that introduction then furthered the conversation of firmly putting them into a prospect bucket in a way, if you want to put it that way. So there they are. Now they're a prospect, and I'm going to connect with them on that level, and was cultivating them to become a client and having those conversations. And so there's going to be other people who influence that decision, and being made aware of that by the questions you ask is going to really serve you well in the relationship and going through that. Now, as you lay that groundwork, and now you're firmly going down and building that rapport, that's what you are able to move to guide them to a decision. Because that's what it is. It's about guiding them to a decision. It's not about manipulating them into a close. You are going to close the sale, but it's about guiding them to a decision, because ultimately that's what a close is. It's a decision. It's a decision to move forward, a decision to change the way they're doing business, to add a new product to their mix, to add a new solution, a program, or any kind of a solution of B2B. It's to move forward in their personal life of how they could improve. It's how to move forward in their marketing or their sales strategy. There's so many different ways that you're going to be able to create that impact depending on your product or service, right? And you need to know that, and they need to tap into what's important to them so that they can guide them to the decision. It's a good fit. It's a win-win. And then you're going to move on to implementing that product or service. And even in those stages where you're having those conversations, you are going to be seeding the idea of referrals again in those conversations. And we'll cover that, not to worry, in another session. But you want to continue to think that through. That's why really all this that we're doing right now of building out your sales strategy and thinking it through and planning for it, practicing it, is going to help you accelerate your entire sales process so that you can convert more people to becoming clients, because you build that rapport, you make the connection, you cultivate the relationship, and you guide them to a decision. So many times people talk about needing to get more leads. but it's really about qualifying the leads you have, having those conversations, following up with them, cultivating the relationship to move them from point A to point B so that you can help them, so that you can serve them, so you can create the impact for them personally, for their business, for their team members, for their community. So as we close out today's show, I want to just say thank you so much for tuning in. My purpose is to get you more clients. And on behalf of the Win-Win Women Network, I've carved out a limited number of time slots to invite you to hop on and ignite your sales call with me to see what is working, not working, and what you would love to have working. And I'm going to see how I might further support you in effectively generating more leads, converting more sales, and fulfilling on your promise as a brand and organization. The fastest way to success is to assure people know that they matter. And the best way to make this happen is to build a consistent sales strategy to acquire, convert, and capitalize on every lead. You will grow your business, and it's going to be easy and lucrative. Today, we looked at how to reach consensus and cultivate your client impact. The key is for you to implement these steps to stop wasting time, energy, and resources. You have the opportunity to jump in and get the support you need for true success. Say yes to you and get on a call with me. I am really gifted at this, and you deserve a shortcut to your success with the right support. So you can go to p2q.link/win-win. That's P, the digit 2, Q.link/win-win. You can also connect with me on our website to stay current on all of our insightful advice, our breakthrough advantages, and never miss an episode. You can sign up for our weekly Wisdoms newsletter at petitetoqueen.com. Now, one of the other things that I've done and I've provided is that I've gone ahead and dropped in some great training for personality coding. I'm really passionate about how this will help and serve you, not only in your business, not only in your sales, but in all your relationships. Learning this skill helps you help others, and it helps you grow your mindset. I always like to think of it, you see this paradigm, and it's almost like a cube, and you get to turn it on the axis, and you get to pivot it, and all of a sudden you can see around to another part, and you're actually able to shift your own paradigm. And that's what growth mindset is all about. All right. And so I would strongly encourage you to take a look at the show notes and take advantage of that. I've given you a coupon code so you can get 20% off, but this is going to help you in so many aspects of your life and your business. So that's why I want to share it with you. That's why I feel it's so important. But in addition, let's sort of go ahead and talk again about what we're going to be talking about next week. Next week on Get More Clients, we're going to discuss why rapport is crucial in your sales strategy and client success. Come on, rapport is everything and how you meet people. So I am super excited to be talking about that next week, and I will see you then, the same time, same channel on Get More Clients.